Hello everybody, my name is Bertin Naoum. First of all, I wish to say I'm very happy to be here. I wish to thank very much Inormo for inviting me to this conference. So I guess I am closing this session from today, and my presentation is going to basically emphasize and how surgical techniques have evolved from origins to robotics. So first of all, let me try to give a definition of surgery. I think we can define surgery as being a set of instrumental and manual operations which are carried out on a living human body in order for therapeutic reason. Surgery is probably one of the most ancient medical art. For a long time, surgery has been limited by four major factors. First of all, ignorance of the anatomy and physiology. Because the surgeon did not know how the body was actually organized and how it worked, surgery could not be carried out on vital organ, but it was limited only to peripheral organs and to wounds. Second limiting factor was actually hemorrhage. Hemorrhage were often fatal. Coagulation has been observed for a long time, but the fact that how to deal with the hemorrhage, we had to wait until the 20th century to actually find solutions. Another limiting factor was pain. Because of pain, the patient will have avoidance reflex that would make the surgery quite difficult to be carried out. This would obviously be modified and improved with the appearance of anesthesia. And at last, but not least, infection that were the reason for many deaths. And we had to wait for Pasteur and the discovery of microbes that would lead eventually to better solutions in order to deal with infection, and because of this we will be able to save many post-op lives. There are a few fossilized bones that prove that surgical acts were carried out in the Neolithic. And if we look on these images, you know, the edges of the resection would lead us to believe that the craniotomy was not actually fatal, and the patient actually lived after this surgery. Despite the size of the craniotomy and the size of the body that was the body part that was removed from the head. The rustic surgical conditions from the very beginning required precision and excellent instrument in order to be able to do such surgeries. We are often very surprised by the actual modern shape of the instrument that were used at this time, at these very early stages. Obviously, we've been moving fast, and I think we can say that today the past 40 years can be defined as being the era of new technology. Surgery has turned digital. Thanks to CT scans, MRI, we are now capable of having a very good knowledge of the inner body organization and being able to do some very precise diagnostics. Obviously, this past 10, 20 years, we have been in a situation when, in some cases, the hand is no longer intervenes directly on the body. The surgeon can even, in some cases, do remote surgery and work from distance. You see here a device that I guess a lot of you have already encountered, which is the Da Vinci robot. There was actually, in 2001, there was a surgeon, a French surgeon called Professor Maresco from IRCAD, and he performed this surgery. He was based in New York and did this surgery on a patient that was in Strasbourg. Okay, so at this stage, what I suggest is I'm going to give you a good example on what technology can actually bring on the way to cure patient. On one good example, which is Parkinson's disease, which Michael J. Fox is probably one of the most renowned patients. So Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disease affecting the central nervous system, and it is responsible for motor disorder with a progressive evolution. The causes of Parkinson's disease are not well established at this stage, but this is the second neurodegenerative disease after Alzheimer's. It is now possible to actually to provide to patients suffering from Parkinson's disease a relief thanks to a technique which is called deep brain stimulation. So deep brain stimulation is a technique that consists in introducing mini electrodes which are going to deliver high-frequency pulses within the deep brain zone, measuring the size of the pea, a very small size. The high-frequency stimulations inhibit the neuron and prevent the transmission of nerve signals. The deep brain stimulation technique was actually developed by a French surgeon who is called Professor Halim Louis Benabid. And he developed this technique with his team at Grenoble University Hospital in the late 80s, early 90s. Thanks to the development of cerebral imagery, high-resolution MRI, and so on, we are now capable of identifying very precisely the zones which are responsible for these tremors. The procedure is very similar to the one which is used with the pacemaker for the heart. There are two electrodes which are linked to a stimulator which is underneath the skin. And this technique has proven very efficient for other neurodegenerative disease. So let me show you a small video at this stage. So what you see here is a patient actually suffering from very severe Parkinson's disease. And the surgery is going to consist in implementing those two electrodes linked to a stimulator which is underneath the skin. So you see here the patient after the surgery. You can see his right arm, shaking. And now the neurophysiologist is going to activate actually the stimulator, and you start seeing the tremor stopping. And basically the patient is just kind of just like it was an on-off situation. Now he's going to be able to move very smoothly. You can even start walking, balancing the arms, which is something which is not common for patients suffering from Parkinson's disease. You're going to do a couple of dancing steps. So the surgery is going to start by an MRI scan, high-resolution MRI scan. The images are going to be transferred to a planning console, where basically the planning can be done. The day of the surgery, the patient is going to be installed in a stereotactic frame to actually immobilize the skull. We bring a CT scan for intra-op images. We start with the robot calibration, which is a very simple calibration. We are going to use the robot to actually identify where the incision should be done. The robot is going to be used by the surgeon to perform the burr hole with an electric drill. This is not too much blood, I hope, for you. And now we actually are going to use the robot to actually place the instrument. So we use the so-called bend gun, which is a 5 electrode descenders. Thanks to the planning software, we can control in real time the position of the electrodes with respect with what was planned. This is what you see on the screen right now. If the position is not exactly where we want, we can always use the robot to modify a couple of millimeters or even less. So this is a very flexible tool. And now the microelectrodes are placed. Usually the surgeon are going to use 5 microelectrodes. The 5 microelectrodes are moved simultaneously thanks to robotic microdrive. By the way, this surgery is performed at Amiens University Hospital. Now we can start the micro recording, because what you need to know is, what is very special is that the patient is actually awake. The patient is awake because the fine-tuning of the electrode, of the impulse, the frequency, and also the intensity of the pulse are going to be fine-tuned with the patient being awake and looking at the reaction of the patient to make sure that basically we have found the right solution. So this is what you see right now. This is what we call the testing. So we are going to do this test on all the electrodes. In some situation, another set of electrodes are going to be implemented on the other side of the brain for some specific indication. And basically that's it. At the end of the surgery, obviously the patient is going to be, once we are sure that the electrodes are right in position and the tremor are basically stopped, then the surgery is ending and the surgeon can close the scalp wound. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think you can see the robot rather on the booth. Yeah.
Yes,
it's possible
indeed.
to see it in action. So thank you. Any question for this last talk on surgery? Yes?
Yannick Durand, engineer student. We were talking about interfaces between human and robots, and how do you link the electrodes in the brains to the stimulators which the patient has? Yes, and how do you power this stimulator?
So as I mentioned before, this part is something which is very known because we are using the exact same technique as the pacemaker. So basically, the stimulator has its own battery, and it is linked with electrical wires which are going to go through the body all the way up underneath the skin to the electrodes which are implemented in the brain. Okay.
I guess that the deep brain stimulation system is provided by manufacturers like Medtronic or
yeah,
something like that.
There are some companies providing this part. So I think everybody understood that unlike what was shown in the previous presentation, the robotic part in this situation is only used for the surgery. The instrumentation which is actually used for the patient itself is manufactured by another company.
And your robot is compatible with any deep brain stimulation systems?
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you.